So I think for many of us, finding purpose, if you read anything around like the men's movement, Carlos Castaneda or David Deida, Joseph Campbell, like they talk about for the masculine, the journey to is always to find freedom and to find purpose. Feeling like your life has purpose, feeling like your life has meaning, and finding our true purpose is a big part of that journey. I found mine. I think I found mine through a sleep deprivation kind of hallucinatory scenario that I figured I would share. So in a lot of my life, sleep has been an issue, and fighting that, waking up, drinking all the coffee, trying to get to work, trying to get to work out or do all the other things that you're supposed to do, hoping I'm going to sleep that night. And I'd been on a run of like 3 days of no sleep. And I wanted to lean into it. I wanted to change the story around it and try to be grateful for it and find some sort of positive twist. And I remembered something a friend of mine took a shamanic studies course. And he had told me one time that there are certain shamans around the world who will enter an altered state of consciousness through sleep deprivation. And so this one day, it was like, I had 3 nights of no sleep. It was like Saturday morning. I feel just ridiculous. I was like, you know what? I don't have any responsibilities today. I'm going to lean into this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to literally just sit up and drum. I'm going to sit and drum. I'm going to make myself sit and drum and just see what happens. See if I can enter an altered state. And so I'm drumming. I think I ended up doing some chanting that I'd never known I would do or had even heard of. So I'm chanting, I'm drumming. I think maybe a few hours in, I would probably lay down and maybe get 20 minutes of something, sleep or just, but eventually, and I would get up and I would just keep drumming. I would keep drumming. And eventually I went somewhere. I'm not going to say like where it was because I don't know, but I went somewhere. I entered an altered state. And at one point I was laying down and just this concept was starting to come to me. And, I'm not going to say maybe it was just my higher self or my true self. But I'm getting this concept of this idea that the notion of original sin from the Christian tradition, we apparently our fall from Eden in the Christian tradition was that we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I'm just getting this concept that was actually an allegory for kind of where we moved our seat of consciousness from our heart to our head. We ate, we got sustenance from gnosis, from the knowledge of good and evil, right? So in our heads is where duality lives, right? Good and evil, right and wrong, good and bad. But in our hearts, it's like unity. We're all one, utopia, love. And I got this understanding that, really the return to peace and to love, it's really just this 18-inch journey, moving our seat of consciousness back to our hearts. And how for me, at least my mission, because I found mindfulness from such an indirect way. I put an earlier video out on this channel where I was like, I couldn't sit and meditate. I had stress in my life. I was not doing the right things to manage it. I was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, drinking all the coffee to wake up, not feeling my feelings, just stress begets stress begets stress. And I couldn't quiet my mind. I couldn't quiet that loop to sit down and meditate. And so I actually found it through movement. So it was through getting exercise, not listening to music, not counting reps, just being in my body and just focusing on the gratitude I had to be able to move, to be able to exercise. And over those couple of days, I did end up sleeping that fourth night. And over the next couple of days, it became clear, like, this is, at least part of my purpose or part of my mission is to share, you know, that success, right? So stress was ruling my life. I was able to hack a way to get into mindfulness. And it was actually, through movement, I was able to quiet my mind. And then eventually I was able to actually sit and be able to meditate, do quiet, seated meditation. But it was only because I had developed that space previously through movement. So then, I could go out for a 4-hour bike ride, or I could go exercise for long periods of time without music, like without talking or listening to anything, just being in my body and just quieting my thoughts and just being in the moment. And then that's translated to how I can relate to my son, how I can relate to my partner, how I can be present for others. And so I started sharing that with some of the guys I've coached. I started sharing that in some of my men's groups. And slowly but surely, guys have, the guys that have wanted to try it have found their entry point. That's what we call it, like your entry point into mindfulness. They found their entry point, not necessarily through that direct way of sitting down with a guided meditation app or YouTube and just, just doing it enough until you could quiet your mind, but actually hacking it and going about it a different way. And so for me, it was that sleep deprivation. It was that altered state of consciousness where I was able to find at least something that I'm passionate about, sharing the successful way that I hacked mindfulness and was able to change my relationship with stress, develop more access to joy in my life because I was able to be present in the moment. I was able to not reduce the stressors in my life, but I was able to reduce the way I responded to those stressors. And it was through kind of a hallucination. It was through this sleep deprivation, where I was just forcing myself to drum and to chant. And I was forcing myself to stay up, but I was leaning into that instead of, try to take a nap, try to take a Tylenol PM and, just try to sleep today. No, I just leaned into it. And so that's why, so I'm building this channel. I don't know where it's going to go, but I found a great stress reducer in my life, and it was really hard fought. And a lot of the guys that I have been able to share it with have also found successes and have found that softer way. So that was through sleep deprivation and hallucination.